This is the forbidden Congo, the second largest rainforest on Earth, and the last truly wild place that humankind has never finished discovering. It is an ocean of trees so vast and so tightly woven that entire regions have never been filmed, never been walked, never been touched by anyone at all. And hidden beneath that green ceiling live some of the deadliest, strangest, and rarest animals in the world, creatures so secretive that most people have never seen them and never will. Here you will meet the most brutal bite on the continent, the serpent that can blind you from 3 meters away, the giant that science denied for centuries, and right at the very end, a creature so hidden that even today scientists cannot say how many are left alive, an animal that exists, that hunts every single night, and that the whole of science is still unable to count. That one we will chase until the final minute. If wild nature in its rawest, most honest form is what moves you, then you are exactly where you belong. Leave a like, subscribe to Wild Dominion to travel with us on every expedition, and tell us in the comments which country and which city you are watching from. We love knowing just how far Wild Dominion reaches. Now step carefully because we are about to enter the forbidden Congo. High in the mist-drowned mountains of the eastern Congo lives a creature that shares almost everything with us, and that almost everyone misunderstands. The mountain gorilla is the largest primate on Earth, and the dominant adult male is known as a silverback, named for the sweep of grey hair across his back. He can weigh more than 200 kilograms, and his strength is simply staggering. It is thought that with a single pull, a silverback could tear a human arm clean from its socket. And yet here is the first great surprise of the Congo. For 98% of the time, this colossus is a gentle, almost entirely vegetarian animal that spends its days eating leaves, stems, and shoots, tending its young and resting among family. Look closer, and the mountain gorilla hides details that are unsettling in how human they are. Every gorilla has a unique fingerprint on its hands, exactly as we do, and a unique print on its nose too, a pattern of wrinkles that lets researchers identify each individual one by one. Every night, they build a fresh bed, a nest of branches and leaves woven in minutes on the ground or up among the trees, then abandoned by morning for a new one. But the most moving thing of all is how they meet death. Mother gorillas who lose an infant have been seen carrying the lifeless body for days, refusing to let go, cradling it as though it were still alive. It is one of the most heartbreaking images of grief in the entire animal kingdom, and it reminds us that the line between them and us is far thinner than we like to believe. Tragically, the mountain gorilla is one of the most threatened animals on the planet. Barely around 1,000 remain in the world, all clinging to a few mountains of the Congo and its borders, hounded by forest loss, by poaching, and by human diseases that a body so close to our own catches all too easily. That this gentle giant still breathes at all is a small miracle, guarded by rangers who risk their lives every single day to protect it. Each gorilla family turns around one silverback, who decides where to feed, when to rest, and where to move, and who will defend the group with his life if he must. When he wants to warn a rival without ever coming to blows, he rises up and beats his cupped hands against his chest, sending a hollow, booming drumbeat rolling across the mountain that can be heard more than 1 kilometer away. It is almost never a real threat. It is theater, a warning designed to avoid violence. Even in his power, the gorilla chooses peace, and there is a tender detail science uncovered only recently. When they eat something they truly love, gorillas hum and even sing, a low, continuous murmur of pure contentment, a kind of food song that also tells the others all is calm. They barely drink at all, drawing almost all the water they need from the juicy leaves they devour, up to 30 kilograms of them a day. A giant that sings while it eats, and almost never needs a river. From the giant that lets itself be seen now and then, we turn to a shadow that almost never does. In the densest forest in all of Africa lives a version of this cat perfected for the invisible, and it does something no other big cat on the continent can manage. It hunts by day and by night with no fixed pattern, so that its prey can never learn when to expect the strike. That total unpredictability makes it a hunter almost impossible to avoid, yet its most astonishing feat is one of pure power. The Congo leopard can kill prey weighing up to 3 times its own body, then seize it in its jaws and haul it straight up the vertical trunk of a tree, alone until it lies safe on the high branches, far from hyenas and other scavengers. Imagine the raw strength that takes, climbing vertically while carrying more than your own weight. The Congo leopard is also a capable swimmer and has even been filmed hunting in the water, a rare sight among cats. It marks its territory by clawing trees at a precise angle and height, leaving a signature that other leopards read perfectly. This is mine. It is the spotted ghost of the forest, a hunter most animals of the woods will glimpse only once in their entire lives. Its coat, scattered with dark rosettes, is flawless camouflage for the broken light of the jungle, where the sun falls in patches through the leaves. A motionless leopard simply becomes invisible. Mothers raise their cubs in solitude, tucking them into caves and hollow trees and moving them often so that no predator can find them. Its night vision is many times sharper than ours, and its hearing so fine it catches the faintest crackle in the leaf litter from meters away, letting it hunt in near total darkness. In fact, the leopard is so adaptable that it is the big cat with the widest range on Earth, able to live from this soaking jungle to deserts and snow-covered mountains, switching its whole diet and technique to fit wherever it finds itself. And though it is the most resilient of the great cats, here in the Congo it too suffers from hunting and the loss of its forest, vanishing with the very same stealth by which it lived. Where the forest breaks open into savanna, a huntress reigns who is wrapped in more myths and misunderstanding than almost any animal in Africa: the spotted hyena. Forget the cowardly, giggling scavenger of the cartoons. The spotted hyena is a formidable predator and one of the strangest creatures in the animal kingdom. Its society is a strict matriarchy. The females rule, and even the weakest female in the clan outranks the strongest male, and those females carry an anatomy unique among mammals. Their external genitals mimic a male's almost exactly, so completely that they give birth through that structure in one of the most difficult and dangerous births in all of nature. Their weapon is the bite. In proportion to its size, the spotted hyena has one of the most powerful bites of any land mammal, stronger even than a lion's, able to crush the thickest bones, including those of a young elephant, to reach the marrow no other predator can touch. And that famous laugh is not joy. It is a sound of stress and submission, released above all when they squabble over food and feel cornered. The hyena does not laugh because it is happy. It laughs because it is afraid. Clans of spotted hyenas can gather dozens of individuals and run on a social organization so complex that scientists compare it to that of some primates. Every member knows its own rank and everyone else's, and cubs inherit their mother's position. They hunt in groups with real strategy, chasing their prey to exhaustion, and they are far more hunters than scavengers, the very opposite of their reputation. Their cubs are born already with eyes open and teeth grown, ready to fight their sisters for rank from the very first day, and their stomach is so powerful it can digest skin, horn and bone, and even shrug off the deadly bacteria of rotting meat that would kill almost any other animal, which makes the hyena the great cleanup service of Africa, able to eat what nobody else dares to touch. It is one of the most misjudged and most fascinating animals on the whole continent. But the animal that kills more experienced hunters than any other in all of Africa is no predator at all. It is a plant eater, and one that many consider the most vengeful creature on the continent, the Cape buffalo. A bull can top 800 kilograms, and across its skull it carries a solid helmet of horn from which two curved, sharpened blades sweep out. Hunters gave it two names, the Black Death and the Widowmaker, because it kills more people than the lion does, and it does so with a disturbing intelligence. The Cape buffalo seems to hold a grudge. There are documented cases of a wounded buffalo circling round to ambush from behind the very hunter who chased it, attacking on purpose. It may even feign death, then heave itself up in an instant when a predator draws close in confidence. When a herd is attacked, the adults form a living wall around the calves, every horn pointing outward, and together they can charge a pride of lions and send them running. The most dangerous of all are the old solitary bulls driven out of the herd, who no longer have anyone to protect them and who, for that very reason, strike first and without warning. These buffalo spend much of the day sunk in mud and water to beat the heat and shake off the insects, and they often carry small birds on their backs that pick the ticks from their hide, a silent alliance. But do not let that placid, cow-like face fool you. A herd of Cape buffalo is one of the most feared forces in all of Africa, and it hides a startling social secret. When the herd rests and the moment comes to decide which way to move, the adult females stand and turn their bodies in the direction they prefer, and the herd ends up heading wherever the majority points. It is, quite literally, a form of animal voting, a democracy of horns in the heart of the savannah. In the Congo, danger does not always come with claws, and above this whole world, watching from the sky, glides the largest bird of prey in Africa, the martial eagle. With a wingspan that can approach 2.5 meters, this eagle is an aerial hunting machine of a power almost impossible to picture. Its eyesight is so sharp, it can pick out a motionless hare hidden in the undergrowth from several kilometers away, and when it drops onto its prey, the impact of its talons is so brutal it can knock a young antelope out of the air in mid-flight, striking with shattering force. The martial eagle hunts monkeys, snakes, birds, and good-sized mammals, and there are records of it seizing and carrying off leopard cubs, tearing them from the ground before the mother's eyes. It builds enormous nests high in the treetops, giant structures that a single pair reuses and enlarges over decades. It is the undisputed queen of the Congo sky, a feathered missile that most of its victims never even see coming. And like so many great predators, it is in silent decline. In many regions, herders persecute it out of fear for their livestock, and every martial eagle that falls leaves a vast territory without its supreme hunter. These birds breed painfully slowly, raising a single chick only once every few years, so that every loss takes a very long time to recover. The largest eagle in Africa is also one of the fastest to be vanishing from the sky. It is so powerful it will even hunt other birds of prey, and its blow lands with such force it can knock a creature the size of a small antelope unconscious on the very first strike. They say a martial eagle sees its prey from so far off that if we had its eyes, we could read a newspaper from hundreds of meters away. Let us come down now from the sky to the forest floor, to the quietest and most treacherous layer of the Congo, the world of venom, where danger does not roar or charge, but waits, hidden. And let us begin with a serpent that has evolved a weapon out of science fiction, the black-necked spitting cobra. Most venomous snakes must bite to inject their venom. This one does not. The spitting cobra can launch its venom through the air under pressure, aiming with astonishing precision at the eyes of its threat from 2 or 3 meters away, and rarely missing. When the venom reaches the eyes, it causes blinding pain, and even permanent blindness if it is not washed and treated within minutes. The most remarkable thing is that this cobra chooses its strategy by distance. If the threat is far off, it spits at the eyes to drive it away. If it is close, it bites. It is a cold, precise calculation, and its young are born already fully armed. From the very first day of life, they can spit venom on target, completely independent of their mother. A newborn of the Congo that can already blind you. Few images sum up better how merciless this jungle can be. The mechanism it spits with is a work of engineering. Its fangs do not point downward like those of other snakes, but forward, with tiny openings at the tip, so that when it contracts its venom muscles, it fires out 2 fine jets aimed straight at the movement of an enemy's eyes. It can spray several times in a row without running dry. A sharpshooter in scales, built never to have to risk itself in close combat. And its aim is no accident. The cobra targets the glint and the movement of the eyes, following the face and adjusting its jet at the last instant, so it strikes even a moving target. In the regions where it lives, the first rule is simple. Never come close to look it in the face. And on that same forest floor among the leaf litter prowls one of the most feared spiders in Africa, the African wandering spider. Unlike most spiders, which spin a web and wait, this one hunts on the move, walking actively across the jungle floor through the night, stalking its prey. It is one of the very few spiders in the world with a reputation for aggression, one that does not always wait to be provoked before it strikes, and it has a habit that is dangerous for humans. It likes to hide in dark, tucked-away places, including bunches of bananas, which has led to more than one accidental encounter with people handling the fruit. Its venom is potent and attacks the nervous system, and in severe cases, it triggers intense and strange symptoms throughout the human body. It is a reminder that in the Congo, the most dangerous hunters are not always the biggest. Sometimes they fit beneath a single leaf. And speaking of small luminous creatures, the Congo night hides a secret spectacle, the Congo forest scorpion. By day, it is almost impossible to find, tucked beneath bark and stones. But by night, under the beam of an ultraviolet lamp, the magic happens. Its entire body lights up with a ghostly blue-green glow because its shell contains fluorescent substances. Scientists use precisely that light to find them in the dark. The female is a devoted mother. She carries her newborn young on her back until their first molt, wandering through the night with a small pale crowd clinging to her spine. This scorpion can survive weeks without eating, slipping into a kind of lethargy that slows its body to the bare minimum. Its sting rarely kills a healthy adult, but the pain it inflicts is rated among the worst in the entire animal kingdom. No one knows for certain why they glow under ultraviolet light. Some scientists believe it helps them sense moonlight, so they know when it is too bright and too dangerous to come out and hunt. But it remains, in large part, an unsolved riddle. Another small mystery of the Congo, hidden in plain sight. And if a scorpion unsettles you, the next creature is a nightmare with legs. The African giant centipede is one of the largest centipedes on the planet, able to exceed 30 centimeters in length. A living serpent made of plates and legs, crowned by a pair of venomous pincers. It is a fierce and relentless predator. It has even been filmed hunting in a way that looks like pure horror. It hangs upside down from the ceiling of a cave, held only by its rear legs, and snatches passing bats out of the air, subduing them with its venom. It eats insects, spiders, frogs, lizards, and even small mammals. Its sting is extremely painful, and though it is rarely fatal, there are isolated records of deaths in very young children, and it is so fast it can escape most predators before they can seize it. It injects its venom with a pair of legs, transformed into pincers just behind the head, a kind of syringe claw that no other group of animals possesses, and its many legs move in perfectly coordinated waves that let it climb walls and ceilings as easily as it runs across the ground. A monster in miniature that reigns in the darkness of the forest floor. And now, before we meet the giants of the Congo, let us pause on the animal that best embodies everything this documentary means, the living proof that this jungle can hide the impossible. For centuries, European explorers heard rumors of a ghostly creature of the deep forest, half horse, half zebra, that no outsider could ever manage to see. They called it the African unicorn, and many believed it was pure legend until at the very beginning of the 20th century, science finally confirmed it. It was real. It is the okapi. The okapi is one of the strangest and most beautiful animals on the planet. It has a body of velvety chestnut, legs striped in black and white like a zebra, and a long tapering head because, incredible as it sounds, its closest living relative is the giraffe. It lives only in the forests of the Congo, nowhere else on Earth. And it is so elusive, so silent, that it remains one of the hardest large mammals to see in the wild. It has a bluish tongue so long it can lick its own eyes and ears to clean them, and hearing so fine it catches the faintest sounds of the forest. The okapi is the very symbol of the forbidden Congo, a gentle giant the entire world knew nothing about for the whole of its history, and that even today melts away among the trees like a ghost. The okapi is a solitary, territorial animal that marks its path with scent glands on its legs, leaving an invisible trail only other okapis can read. Its calves have an astonishing survival habit. Through their first weeks of life, they stay hidden, motionless, barely defecating at all so as to leave no scent a predator could follow. Mother and calf, moreover, speak to each other through infrasound, sounds so deep the human ear cannot hear them, a secret channel that lets them talk without any nearby predator overhearing. And it leaves us with an unsettling truth. If an animal this size could hide from science until barely a century ago, what else is still out there undiscovered? Let us step now into the realm of the true giants, beginning with one that most people do not even know exists. Everyone knows the elephant of the African savanna, but in the forests of the Congo lives a different elephant, smaller, darker, and genetically separate from its cousin of the plains, the forest elephant. Its tusks are straighter and point downward, an adaptation for moving through dense vegetation without snagging. And for a long time it was considered barely a variety, until science confirmed it is in truth a species all its own. The forest elephant is the great architect of the Congo. With its tusks, it digs deep wells into the ground to reach buried deposits of mineral salts, and those wells it opens become salt springs on which dozens of other species depend. It carves paths through the tangle that other animals then follow, and above all, it is the gardener of the forest. It eats enormous fruits and scatters their seeds across kilometers through its dung. There are trees in the Congo that depend almost entirely on the forest elephant to reproduce. Without it, they would simply cease to exist. And they communicate in a way we barely perceive, through infrasound. Sounds so deep they travel through the ground and the air for kilometers, allowing elephants who cannot see one another to speak across the distance. And here is the drama. The forest elephant reproduces more slowly than almost any other land animal. The females take many years to mature and then bear a single calf only once every 5 or 6 years after one of the longest pregnancies in the animal kingdom. That means that when poaching for ivory kills a forest elephant, the species takes decades to replace it. Tragically, that hunting has decimated this hidden giant, which disappears in silence inside a jungle where almost no one can watch it die. And with every elephant that falls, the trees that depended on it to plant their seeds slowly die too. To lose the forest elephant is not to lose an animal. It is to switch off the entire engine of the jungle. There are magical places where these elephants finally step out of the depths. They are the forest clearings, great marshy openings rich in minerals, where dozens of elephants gather at once, alongside buffalo, antelope, and birds. They are among the very few places on Earth where you can see these ghostly giants together. True secret plazas in the middle of the most impenetrable jungle on the planet. From a giant that is almost invisible, we pass to one famous for its fury, the black rhinoceros. Though its main home is the savanna and the scrublands, this colossus is part of the wild heart of Africa and is considered by many the most unpredictable large mammal on the continent. It sees very poorly, but it makes up for that near blindness with a sense of smell and hearing that are extraordinarily fine, and its reaction to anything it does not recognize tends to be a single one: charge. Black rhinos have been documented charging vehicles, trees, and even rocks, with no provocation at all, simply because something moved or made a sound nearby. Despite weighing more than a ton, it can launch itself into a charge at more than 50 kilometers per hour. And behind that reputation as a furious beast hides a silent tragedy. Poaching for its horn, to which false powers are attributed, has reduced the black rhino to populations so small and so isolated that some individuals may pass their entire lives without ever meeting another of their kind. An animal condemned at times to absolute solitude, and it keeps a curiosity that confuses everyone. It is not actually black, but grey, exactly like the rhino they call white. The names come from an old translation error, not from color. What truly sets it apart is its upper lip, pointed and prehensile like a finger, which it uses with great delicacy to pluck leaves and twigs from the bushes, very different from the broad, flat muzzle of its grass-eating cousin. An armored tank with the mouth of an artist, and in the deepest part of the forest lives a giant that until very recently was almost a rumor. The giant forest hog is the heaviest wild pig on the planet, with individuals that can exceed 270 kilograms, cloaked in coarse black hair. For a long time it was practically impossible to film. It lived in the gloom of the Congo like a shadow of which only stories existed. It lives in tight-knit family groups that are extremely territorial, and although it feeds mostly on plants, it is not an animal you want to cross. Its curved tusks are a fearsome weapon. In a single defensive movement, a cornered forest hog can open the belly of a leopard that dared to attack it. In fact, Western science did not describe it until the beginning of the 20th century, making it one of the last large African mammals to be recognized, another impossible inhabitant that the jungle kept secret until just a few generations ago. Another of the hidden giants, the Congo, kept far from our cameras for almost the whole of history. Let us pause here. in the heart of the forbidden forest, because what comes next is stranger still. If you are enjoying this journey through the hidden Congo and you want to come with us on the next ones, subscribe to Wild Dominion. We upload new documentaries constantly, carrying you to the wildest and least explored corners of the planet. And our subscribers are always the first to see them, with priority access to every new expedition before anyone else. Turn on the bell so you never get left behind. Let us go on, because the rarest secrets of the Congo are still waiting for us. And we begin this part with another animal that exists only here, in the Congo, and nowhere else in the world. The bonobo is one of our closest living relatives. It shares almost 99% of our DNA, and yet its society is nearly the opposite of the chimpanzees. While chimpanzees live in male-dominated groups and settle their conflicts with violence, bonobos live in a peaceful society led by the females, where tensions are soothed with affection and social bonds instead of fights. They are playful and empathetic, capable of consoling a distressed companion, and they live only south of the Great Congo River, isolated there for hundreds of thousands of years. The bonobo is a different mirror of ourselves, proof that nature also invented a path built on peace, hidden in the jungle hardest of all to reach. Incredibly, science did not recognize the bonobo as a species distinct from the chimpanzee until well into the 20th century. For a long time it was thought to be simply a smaller chimpanzee. Today we know it is a unique being, able to solve problems, to learn symbols, and even to share food with strangers, something extremely rare among animals. But like the gorilla, it is in danger. It lives only in a country ravaged by decades of human conflict, and its home shrinks year after year. And there is one fact that says everything. In all the years scientists have spent watching them, a bonobo has never once been documented killing another bonobo, something that cannot be said of chimpanzees, and certainly not of us. The most peaceful relative we have could disappear before we ever come to understand it fully. From our relatives we move to a monkey whose life is a constant drama, the red colobus. This reddish-furred primate holds the sad honor of being the favorite prey of chimpanzees, who hunt it in coordinated raiding parties, one of the very few examples of cooperative hunting among primates. To survive that pressure, the red colobus has evolved astonishing adaptations. It has lost its thumb almost entirely, a rarity among monkeys, because one finger less lets it move faster through the branches when it flees. And when the group spots a predator, they all scream in unison, creating a deafening social alarm that confuses the hunter and warns the whole forest. Inside, it is just as surprising. It has a stomach divided into several chambers, like a cow's, which lets it digest leaves so toxic they would kill other animals. Precisely because it lives so hunted, the red colobus is today one of the most threatened groups of primates on the planet. Several of its species have already vanished, or stand on the very edge of it, flickering out before we have barely begun to know them. And if we are talking about alarm systems, none is as sophisticated as that of the Diana monkey. This elegant monkey, with its dark face and contrasting coat, has developed something that astonished scientists. It has a different alarm call for each type of predator. One specific sound means leopard, another completely different means eagle, and another means snake. And not only that. On hearing the alarm, the other monkeys react in exactly the right way for each threat, looking down if it is a snake, or up at the sky if it is an eagle. What is truly incredible is that other animals of the forest, even entirely different species, have learned to understand the Diana monkey's language of alarms and respond to it. These monkeys form alliances with other species to keep watch over one another, and one has even been documented giving a false alarm to frighten off another group and steal its food. A deliberate lie in the middle of the Congo jungle. And there is more. These monkeys have been seen combining their calls into small sequences, changing the meaning depending on the order, something that resembles, unsettlingly, the first building blocks of a grammar, of a true language. In the canopy of the Congo, perhaps one of the most complex conversations in the entire animal kingdom is quietly taking place. And now, an unexpected twist. In the midst of so many lethal giants, one of the most astonishing animals of the Congo is small, unassuming, and to many a hero. the African giant pouched rat. This rodent, far larger than a common rat and able to live up to 8 years, has a sense of smell so extraordinarily sensitive that human beings have trained it in the real world to save lives. These rats are used to detect buried landmines, walking lightly across minefields without setting them off, and pointing with precision to where the explosive lies, clearing ground that would otherwise take years to make safe. And not only that, they have also been trained to detect tuberculosis, sniffing samples of human saliva, and identifying the disease with an accuracy that surpasses many laboratory tests. In a land full of creatures that kill, this humble rodent is one of the few that devotes its gift to saving. A single one of these rats can check in 20 minutes a stretch of ground that would take a human with a metal detector days, and it does so without danger because it is far too light to trigger the mines. Thanks to them, huge expanses of land have been cleared of explosives and turned back into fields and homes, and its talent does not end there. These rats have also been trained to sniff out, in ports, illegal shipments of pangolin scales and other trafficked animal products hidden among tons of cargo, helping to catch the smugglers who empty the jungle, the perfect contrast of the Congo, surrounded by deadly giants, a brilliant little creature working quietly on the side of life. When night falls, the Congo sky fills with an eerie, almost mechanical sound that echoes through the whole jungle. It is the call of the hammer-headed bat, the largest bat in continental Africa, with a wingspan that can approach a meter. The male has an enormous deformed head with an elongated snout that looks like a hammer, and that entire structure is nothing less than a gigantic resonating chamber. It serves to produce one of the most powerful sounds in the whole animal kingdom. A deep, repetitive call with which he tries to draw in the females through the night. It flies in flocks of hundreds of individuals that cover dozens of kilometers each night in search of ripe fruit, and it hides a mystery that worries science. It is suspected, though not confirmed, that it could be one of the natural reservoirs of dangerous viruses such as Ebola, which has made this bat the object of intense scientific research, a winged ghost that may carry within its body some of the most dangerous secrets of the jungle. Strangest of all is that only the males have that monstrous hammerhead. The females look like perfectly ordinary fruit bats. It is one of the most extreme cases of difference between males and females in the entire world of mammals. They look like two different species, and yet they are one and the same. And on the floor of that same jungle hides a bird that sums up, all on its own, the whole mystery of the Congo peafowl. For centuries, no one in science knew it existed. The story of its discovery is almost unbelievable. At the beginning of the 20th century, a researcher found a single strange feather in the headdress of a local inhabitant, a feather that belonged to no known species. Years passed until, already in the 1930s, the living bird was finally found. It was the only true pheasant in all of Africa, hidden in the heart of the Congo. That mysterious feather had been kept by a researcher for years, without his knowing which bird it belonged to, until one day, in a distant museum, he realized it matched no known species and understood that an entire bird was waiting to be discovered in the heart of the Congo. With plumage of brilliant blue and green, shy and elusive, the Congo peafowl remains today one of the hardest birds to observe on the continent, a feathered ghost the jungle revealed drop by drop, and that still keeps almost all of its secrets. Not every strange being of the Congo is large or dangerous. Some are small masterpieces of evolution. In the mist-covered mountains of the eastern Congo lives a three-horned chameleon, a reptile that looks like a triceratops in miniature. The male sports 3 sharp horns on his head that he uses in duels with other males, shoving at one another like tiny dinosaurs. But its real marvels lie elsewhere. Each of its eyes moves completely independently of the other, so that it can look forward and backward at the same time, watching a full 360 degrees around itself. It changes color not only to camouflage itself, but also according to its temperature and its mood, speaking with its skin. And its hunting weapon is one for the record books. Its tongue shoots out toward its prey in less than 1/10 of a second, faster than a human can blink, catching insects on a sticky tip before they can react. That tongue can be longer than its own body. Its young are born already fully formed and completely independent. From the very first minute of life, they climb alone, hunt alone, and change color alone, without their mother teaching them anything at all. a silent psychedelic hunter hidden among the leaves. And speaking of living armor, the Congo is home to one of the most singular and, at the same time, most threatened animals on Earth. The long-tailed pangolin is the only mammal in the world covered entirely in scales, hard plates of keratin, the same material as our fingernails that clad it like a small dragon. When it feels threatened, the pangolin rolls itself into a ball so tight and so hard that not even a leopard with all its strength can pry it open. It feeds on ants and termites, which it catches with an astonishing tongue longer than its own body, one that, when drawn in, is stored coiled inside a cavity of its chest. But over this shy, beautiful animal hangs a terrible shadow. The pangolin is the most trafficked mammal in the entire world, hunted by the millions for its scales and its meat. Every pangolin still alive and breathing in the forests of the Congo is in itself a rarity, and to see one in the wild is a privilege very few have ever had. It is a nocturnal, solitary, silent animal that moves slowly through the leaf litter in search of ant nests and reproduces very slowly, with a single baby at a time that the mother carries on the base of her tail. That slowness, combined with the massive hunting, has pushed it to the edge of the abyss. Its story is one of the saddest on the planet, an animal whose only defense, rolling into a ball, is perfect against leopards, but utterly useless against the human hand, which simply picks it up off the ground. And it hides one more curiosity. The pangolin does not have a single tooth. Since it cannot chew, it swallows small stones that, in its stomach, grind up the ants and termites it devours, working like an internal mill. A single pangolin can eat tens of millions of insects a year, which also makes it an irreplaceable natural pest control. Protecting the pangolin of the Congo is a race against the clock. And now we enter the final layer of this journey, the darkest and the most silent, the layer of the creatures almost no one on the planet has ever seen alive. Beside the rivers of the forest, one of the smallest and strangest animals of all moves by night. The African water chevrotain, a tiny ruminant the size of a large rabbit, its back speckled with white spots. It has no horns and looks defenseless, but it hides an astonishing escape trick. When a predator chases it, it runs toward the river, sinks completely below the surface and walks along the bottom underwater, holding its breath until it emerges far away, leaving the hunter utterly baffled on the bank. It is one of the very few mammals able to walk submerged in order to flee, and it is also a kind of living fossil. Its lineage has barely changed in millions of years, so that when we look at it we are seeing more or less how the ancestors of today's deer and antelope once were. Nocturnal, silent, and rarely seen, it is another of the small ghosts that only the Congo hides. When night settles over the black rivers of the Congo, a feathered hunter slides across the water without making the faintest sound. Pell's fishing owl is an enormous reddish owl, specialized in something rare among nocturnal birds, fishing. It skims over the surface of the river in the darkness, and at the last instant sinks its talons to snatch a fish from the water, and for that it has evolved unique adaptations. Its legs have no feathers, so they do not get soaked, and its talons are covered in special roughness that lets it grip the slippery skin of a fish. It flies in absolute silence, thanks to the velvety structure of its feathers, so perfect that not even the sonar of a bat could detect it. It is one of the hardest birds in the whole world to photograph alive, a nocturnal ghost of the rivers that most human beings will never see. It gives itself away, above all, by its call, a deep and spine-chilling moan that runs along the river in the darkness, and that for generations fed local legends of water spirits. The few naturalists who have managed to watch it up close speak of it as the encounter of a lifetime. It is one of the largest owls in all of Africa, and it does not locate its prey by sight, but by detecting in the dark the tiny ripples a fish makes as it moves just beneath the surface, exactly as a spider feels its web tremble. And like almost everything in the Congo, it depends on the river staying clean and full of fish. When the water is poisoned, the fishing ghost simply goes out. And at last we come to the creature we promised to close this journey with, the greatest mystery of all. In the hidden rivers and swamps of the Congo lives an otter, an amphibious nocturnal hunter whose social behavior has barely been studied. It lives in families that communicate through dozens of distinct sounds, a complex language scientists are still trying to decipher, And it does something extraordinary for an animal of its kind. It uses stones as tools, striking shells and hard casings with them to reach the food inside, placing itself in the select group of the very few mammals in the world able to use utensils. Its hands, with almost no webbing between the fingers, are surprisingly skillful and sensitive. They feel the muddy bottom of the river in total darkness, searching for hidden crabs and fish by touch alone, like someone reading in the gloom with the tips of their fingers. But the truly astonishing thing about this otter is not what we know about it, but what we do not. It is so elusive, it lives in places so remote and so inaccessible in the Congo, that science to this very day cannot even say how many are left in the world. We do not know the size of its population. We do not know for certain whether it is thriving or quietly fading away. It is, quite literally, an unsolved mystery. An animal that exists, that hunts and that raises its young every night in the darkness of the greatest unknown jungle on Earth, completely beyond the reach of our eyes and our cameras. And that is the deepest truth of the forbidden Congo. We have crossed its jungle from beginning to end. We have met the giant that mourns its dead, the serpent that blinds from a distance, the unicorn that science denied for centuries, the bat that may carry deadly viruses, and the otter that no one can count. And even so, we have barely scratched the surface, because the Congo is not a place we have finished discovering. It is the last great reminder that in the middle of the 21st century, there still remains an immense corner of the planet where nature keeps its secrets, where creatures live that no human eye has ever seen, and where, while you watch this, something extraordinary is moving in the shadows waiting to be found. The day we stop protecting this place, we will lose not only its animals, we will lose forever the answers to questions we have not even learned to ask. If you made it this far, leave us a like, subscribe if you have not already, and tell us in the comments which of these hidden creatures of the Congo left you speechless. The gorilla that carries its lifeless infant, the cobra that spits at the eyes, the okapi that was once a legend, or the otter that science cannot even count. Until our next journey through wild dominion,